Okay, so to carry on from another lesson, these questions here, they're slightly different than what you saw before. Notice there's no plus or minus going on. See this 2x equals 12? It's an equation, but we cannot just subtract 2 from both sides and get the answer. So, one way to remember this is, well, it's 2 times something is 12. 2 times something. You probably know the answer, don't you? It's 2 times 6. The answer is going to be 6. But once again, I just want to show you a way to do this so that you're doing it for the more complicated ones. Okay. You do the opposite. Before we were doing the opposite of what was going on. If you had a plus sign, you'd subtract, and if you had a minus sign, you would add to get rid of it. In this case here, we have 2 times x. Notice that there's no 2xx. That would be confusing. A 2 and a variable beside it mean multiplication when you just write them one beside the other. Alright, so how do you deal with this? Well, instead of multiplying by 2, you do the opposite of multiplying to get rid of it, and you divide by 2. Remember, you have to do the same thing to this side as what you did here. So you divide by 2. And what do you end up getting? Well, 2 divided by 2 is actually just 1. And 1 times x is just x. So you've basically gotten rid of it. On the other side, 12 divided by 2, 6. You knew the answer, but this is the way you get it now, okay? Let's try over here. 3y is equal to 15. What do we do to both sides to get rid of the 3? We want y all by itself. That's right. Divide both sides by 3 so that we get 3 divided by 3 is 1. So we're left with y equals 15 divided by 3. Happens to work out nicely. Yes, I did that on purpose. Okay, the last question. It's not in the same order. It's 6 equals negative 2 times y. It's the same rule as before, folks. Divide by whatever's in front of the variable. In this case, it's y. And make sure you don't just divide by 2 here, because that would be a mistake. You have to divide by negative 2. Okay? Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. Do the same thing over here. And what do we end up getting? Okay, well, y equals, what's 6 divided by negative 2? Careful, it's a negative sign. And it's negative 3. Alright? So we're done these 3 here. And that's what you do when there's just multiplication going on. Alright, now I'm going to skip ahead to a slightly more difficult situation. Have a look over here. 2x minus 3 is equal to 1. Okay, these are called two-step equations because in order to solve them, you have to do 2 things. Okay, the first thing you do is you do, believe it or not, do the adding or the subtracting first to get rid of whatever you need. So in other words, get rid of the negative 3 first. And the last step you should do is to do the dividing. Okay? So let me show you how this works. We're going to do it using the balance model here. And then we're going to do some questions without this model. I just wanted to show you how this works. Once again. So remember, 2 x's, well, there's an x and there's an x. Remember how they're positive. So that's why they're shaded in. 2x, and then you have 3 circles that are not shaded in. They are negative. Okay? 1, 2, 3. 2x minus 3. 2x minus 3 equals, and that's represented by this little balance here, 1. And it's a positive 1, so I've shaded it in right here. Okay? Remember, the steps are, first of all, you want to do the adding or subtracting first. How do you get rid of 3 negative 1s? Well, do the opposite of what you see. 1, 2, 3, but shade them in. Do the same thing to the other side. Okay, and what do we have right now? Well, this is what we have. We've got those two x's still. This has canceled out, okay? And over here, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 circles that are all shaded in. Right now we have 2x is equal to 4. Still not the answer we're looking for because we want x all by itself. We just want one of these. Okay? So if you divide these in half, then you also have to divide these in half. Okay? So if you divide this by 2, you have to also divide this by 2. And what are we left with? Well, if you divide this by 2, you're left with just 1x. And over here, if you divide these in half, you're left with just 2 circles. Okay? So the final answer, if you were to write it out, is just x equals 2. All right. We could try this question just using, I'm going to do it right in this space right here. 2x minus 3 is equal to 1. What do you do to both sides? Well, you add 3 to both sides. 2x minus 3 is equal to 1. Let's do it without drawing the picture. Plus 3, you end up with 2x is equal to, this cancels, 4. Still not done. How do you get rid of this 2 in front of the x? Well, you remember, you divide. Divide both sides by 2. And you end up getting x equals 2. And you're done. Okay? So this is the way I use. This is another way that your worksheet is offering. Okay? If you like drawing these pictures, then by all means keep doing them. All right. Let's try another question. 4y minus 9 equals 15. Remember, don't do the dividing by 4 first. Start by just saying, I want to get rid of this negative 9 here. What's the opposite of negative 9? Plus 9. Do the same thing to this side. That cancels. We're left with 4y equals, what's 15 plus 9? 24, I believe. Okay, want to get rid of this 4 to finish off the problem. Divide both sides by 4. That cancels. So you get y equals 24 divided by 4, 6. Done the question. Let's do another one. You can always pause and rewind if I'm going too fast here, okay? Notice this question's not in the same order as the others. Don't worry about that, okay? It's still the same thing. You want to get rid of this first, and then divide both sides by negative 8. So let's do that. What's the opposite of 5? Remember, it's a positive 5. Negative 5. Oops. What are we left with? Well, these cancel. You have negative 8m here. What's 13 minus 5? That's right, it's 8. Okay, let's get rid of this negative 8 right here. How do you get rid of negative 8? You divide by negative 8. Divide by the same thing. Okay, that cancels. And what are we left with? M equals, what's 8 divided by negative 8? Careful, it's negative 1. Okay, and I think that's all the questions that I left for us to do. Okay, so try these out and practice them on the second side of the worksheet from my webpage. All right, good luck.